Hi everyone, this is Carol Ann Speaks State of Our World on Wednesday, January 19, 2022. So what is it? Good, bad, or indifferent? All three. Alright, what are some of the major headlines? What's happening? What's been happening? Okay. Now, scholars Angela Davis, Gina Dent, and Beth Ritchie on why the world needs abolition feminism now. Okay. Angela Davis on reissue of her 1974 autobiography. Her editor, Toni Morrison, Internationalism, and more. And judge approves Puerto Rico debt structuring, but unelected junta could remain for years. The Puerto Rico has had financial problems, and somehow this debt was taken over by the U.S. and they locked them into some agreements with some Wall Street companies that basically cheated them, took them for a ride, and so now we have something that's going to get better. So it's going to take a while, but that's the way it is. Now, what else happened? Puerto Rico should be a state, not a territory, or an independent nation. Now, what else? U.S. government launches site to mail free COVID tests and issues N95 masks amid winter surge. That's good. Uh, Sonia Sotomayor, uh, Supreme Court Justice, um, tends to go to Supreme Court business remotely after Neil Gorsuch, another justice, refuses to wear a mask. Well, Mr. Gorsuch, I hope you get the virus and don't survive. Maybe then you'll learn your lesson. Japan sets new curbs. Hong Kong culls 2,000 exposed hamsters. So the coronavirus Omicron surge is has record cases across Asian nations. So Japan is reimposing curbs on restaurants and bars. Tokyo reported its highest daily caseload today. In the Philippines, new data released by the Government Statistics Office says the number of overall COVID fatalities could be around 105,000, double the health department's official uh, death toll. The Philippines has reported record breaking daily case numbers this week. Oh, at the Philippines, they have a nutty guy running that country, a Trump wannabe. In Hong Kong, already started confiscating small animals in pet shops after announcing it would cull some 2,000 hamsters and other small mammals after a dozen of imported hamsters tested positive for COVID 19. So instead of killing them, why don't they test them and put him into quarantine someplace? Indian authorities say coronavirus cases reached an 8 month high today with over 280,000 new infections. Though authorities say they are still a few weeks away from seeing the full impact of the current surge on hospitalizations and deaths. So, no one seems to be handling this virus and its variants very well. Okay. The World Health Organization warns only 7% of African population fully inoculated amid ongoing vaccine apartheid. Why is that? People just don't get it. You have to vaccinate everybody. You have personal protective equipment for everybody. Because one person has the virus, they can spread it to everyone. Now, uh, yeah, so South Africa, really, all of Africa needs to be taken care of. Okay. Now, Blinken meets with Ukrainian President Zelensky ahead of talks with Russian counterpart. Okay, that sounds good. I have to protect Ukraine. Israel demolishes Sheikh Jarrah home, arrests Palestinians resisting displacement. That's very nice. In occupied East Jerusalem, Israeli forces have destroyed the home of a Palestinian family in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah just days after the Salih family threatened to burn down their home to resist the eviction. Israeli forces raided their home early Wednesday morning while the family slept. Several members were assaulted and at least 6 were arrested. At least 18 Palestinians who were at the home in solidarity with the family are also detained. The Salih family had lived on that land since before Israel occupied the area in 1967. In related news, in the occupied West Bank, a longtime Palestinian activist has died 2 weeks after Israeli police ran him over with a tow truck during an anti-occupation protest. Suleiman Hassalan was 65 years old. Well, really, Israel should be held accountable for what they do. And the U.S. should do that. We give them billions, and they use that to try to wipe out the Palestinians. But they will not succeed. Okay, now, uh, Saudi UAE airstrikes killed 20 people following Houthi attack on UAE target. That's great. That's Saudi Arabia. Uh, it has this war going on with Yemen, and it's really a shame that the people of Yemen are suffering and that the United States is supporting Saudi Arabia on this. Okay, suicide bombing in Somalia kills 4 people days after another blast targets government spokesman. That's great. No one's going to learn by anything. Mexican journalist Margarito Martinez is shot dead in Tijuana. She's a Mexican photojournalist. He is a Mexican. Margarito Martinez is a Mexican photojournalist. And unfortunately, Mexico, I don't know what's going on in Mexico, but seems like the whole world is going downhill. Senators debate voting rights legislation, which appears doomed to fail. I hope not. House January 6th committee subpoenas Trump legal team. New York says it has evidence of Trump organization fraud. Good. Put them all away. But I don't know what is going to happen. New York has had this information for a long time. Why are they waiting till now? Okay. New Yorkers gather to mourn Michelle Go and condemn attacks on Asian American community. Michelle Go, Michelle Lisa Go was struck by an oncoming train after a man pushed her onto the subway tracks on Saturday. I don't know. There's so much hate. Trump is the source of a lot of it. He said he called the virus the Chinese virus. And like President Wilson a long time ago called it the Spanish flu when he was responsible for spreading it around the world. New Jersey public schools to start teaching AAPI history. Florida expands efforts to ban teaching of racism. Okay, New Jersey K through 12 schools will now require to teach Asian American and Pacific Islander history, and that I think that's good. But Florida Republican Ron DeSantis, a Trump wannabe, is pushing legislation that would prohibit public schools and private businesses from making white people feel discomfort or guilt by teaching students or training employees on racial discrimination in the U.S. This is DeSantis' latest attack against the teaching of critical race theory. But the thing is, all this stuff is out there. We have the internet. People are going to learn all about this. I hope Ron DeSantis, and he was also against taking care of his constituents, and still is, with regard to the virus. So I hope he gets the virus and doesn't survive. Portland police is under fire for training materials which mock protesters and advocate violence. That's great. Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. But that's the way it is. And airlines cancel flights over concerns about expansion of 5G cell phone service. That's a good thing to do. MLK's family leads protest demanding passive voting rights legislation. I totally agree with that. All right, now, that's a lot of news. Good, bad news. So, how about a little music to lighten the mood? Okay. Why don't we sing? He can turn the tides and calm the angry sea. He alone decides who writes a symphony. He alone can hear a child's first prayer. He da 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 da. He is a very old song. I don't know who wrote it. I think it's a nice song. Thank you for tuning in this evening of Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, for another meeting of Caroline Speaks Theater for World. I hope you'll be back again tomorrow. Stay safe, take care of yourself and others, wear a mask, practice social distancing when the vaccine is available for you. Safe for you to take it, I would take it. I had mine on May 27th. I had two sore arms and I was tired for weeks and I was fine. But at the end of this month, I have to look into getting a booster, so we'll see about that. Anyway, take care of yourself and others. Remember, kindness goes a long way. Kindness goes a very long way. Thank you. Good night.